Gaming has more money, more tech, and more players than ever. So why does it feel less creative? Well, yes, games look incredible in the current era with phenomenal realism, but fewer of them feel surprising or push the boundaries of game development. Moreover, studios are moving faster, but creativity feels under pressure, which shifts to remaking old classics rather than building something that at least attempts to break the norm that is the current gaming environment. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love some of the remakes that have come out, for example, in the last 5 years. But it would be nice to get a return to the old ways or the old days of the gaming industry, where every studio was looking to create something different. So the real question isn't just where gaming is headed next, it's what happens to creativity when the entire industry starts optimizing for efficiency. And in this video I will break down what I mean exactly when I talk about optimizing for efficiency versus focusing on creativity. But taking a step back, there are a few reasons as to why and how the gaming industry got to this current state. Let's start with the obvious disliked cousin in the room, and that is AI. Once pitched and seen as the shining light that would revolutionize game development forever, with faster production and infinite content, the last 2 to 3 years we've seen it slowly become one of the most hated tools and debated topics on the internet, and especially amongst the gaming community. So much so that even developers started pushing back. According to the 2026 Game Developers Conference Industry Survey, more than half of developers, that's about 52%, believe generative AI is negatively impacting the industry, while only a small minority see it positively. Now, I need to be clear here, it's not necessarily because developers hate AI. Game development has always evolved with new emerging tools, but because many game developers, myself included, fear that AI is being incorrectly used to replace creative decision making rather than actually support it. Now, I have my own strong views on how AI can actually be used to optimize and speed up game development, and that is through using it in the backend to optimize programming logic and do a lot of the heavy lifting. And for those of you like me who love programming and spent years learning and improving and crafting your trade, this isn't anti-coding. In fact, you'll only be able to make the most use out of AI for building and reiterating on your gaming systems if you know how to code already. But I'll save this topic for another video. Even major publishers have echoed this idea, arguing AI tools can't replace the creative process itself, only assist it. And this is literally the point. AI can genuinely help the gaming industry produce fast, better, and more refined gaming content if it is used to expedite the back-end process without taking away that front end. In other words, what you and me as the consumers see, which is the content. So things like the art, the character models, level design, things like the audio, the story, all of these need to and must remain in the hands of humans, because that is what we as the gaming community actually buy into and enjoy the most. The human stories, the human element. Which leads directly into the real battle happening inside game development right now. Creativity versus efficiency. Modern game development can actually be incredibly expensive. Although I would agree and argue that indie devs have shown what they can do with just very small budgets and creativity. Timelines can be very long and expectations are higher than ever amongst the gaming community. And I do believe this is part of the reason why studios have become a bit risk averse, with a shift away from creativity and more towards making safer decisions, with sequels of games they know will sell well, systems becoming more optimized for retention rather than experimentation. And one of the major factors and driving factors is that sadly game studios have become enslaved to their own success with the attraction of huge investments from people who only care about share prices and profits, not necessarily driving creativity and the gaming community itself. Now, I'm not saying that every organization that is invested into the gaming industry only cares about share prices, but majority of them do. They care about share prices and profits, and you can clearly see that because it's reflected in the end result in the games that we purchase on a day-to-day basis, where $80 to $100 has become the norm for a game price. And as a result, what you see is that suddenly efficiency, and I call it efficiency, becomes the priority, with predictable revenues, scalable systems, reusable pipelines that you can see across sequels and games. The irony is that the very technology meant to empower creativity has led to studios standardizing it. Standardizing creativity. Industry forecasts actually show gaming revenue continuing to grow toward nearly 300 billion globally by the end of the decade, driven largely by digital ecosystems and ongoing engagement models. But a huge portion of that forecast comes from subscription-based models. In fact, subscription and recurring revenue models now account for roughly 20 to 25% of gaming revenue, with continued expansion expected. That means success is no longer just about selling a great game once, selling that unique story, that unique experience. It's about keeping players engaged continuously no matter the cost. So design priorities shift towards retention loops, seasonal updates, long-term engagement systems. And again, this is where efficiency or profits start influencing, if not cannibalizing, creativity itself. Not because the actual developers working in these studios wanted to, but because business models reward it. Now, I have been doing some reflection of my own and looking at us as players in the gaming industry, because we as players are changing too. Expectations aren't just creative anymore, they're technical. Modern players now expect instant loading, stable performance. The challenge is we have these split audience. On the one end, you have an audience of younger gamers who got into the industry where a lot of these changes had begun to take place or have already taken place, so they're used to this. They're used to being expected to pay $80+ for a game, for example. Whereas you have people like me, the older generation, who miss the stories, the creativity. And this is where we as the gaming community have to hold ourselves accountable to educate different generations that this isn't how it should be. We actually have a lot of the power when it comes to the gaming industry. With all of that said, as a game developer myself and someone who's been playing video games for over 30 years, I would say that the gaming community has become more technical. Like, we do have higher expectations because obviously technology has evolved over the years. And as a game developer myself, I know how important performance, responsiveness, and scalability are when it comes to building your own game. Now, when you combine all of these trends and factors together, they create a pressure towards safer games that guarantee a return to the shareholders. And that's what we're seeing a lot within the current gaming industry. If we simplify everything, ultimately corporate greed is the problem that has hindered creativity in gaming, not necessarily the technology. AI can be used to promote creativity if used correctly. The scary thing is that over my lifetime, I've witnessed the standard cost of a game increase to almost double to what it used to be. Now obviously there's inflation and other factors that you have to take into account, but it is crazy that $80 to $100 has become the norm for the cost of a video game, when clearly the indie dev market on Steam, for example, has shown you can make quite a lot of money when even pricing games as low as $20. Now obviously the size of teams is taken into account, but big gaming companies could still make quite a lot of money if they focused on creativity and priced games between the $40 and $60 range. So where does this leave us? Where is gaming headed next? Well, probably not toward fewer creative people. We're seeing a flood of creativity come in the form of indie devs. Ultimately, it depends on us as the gaming community. We saw what an impact we can make when we talk with our wallets, so it's down to us to keep rewarding creative studios and developers that push the boundaries of gaming. I would even say reward studios and developers that make decent games but actually price them fairly, because at the very least they're trying and they respect your hard-earned money. I'll leave you guys with this. I don't believe AI is going to decide the future of gaming, and guess what? Neither will investors and their push of greedy subscription-based models. The future belongs to both the creators and the consumers, so the developers and the studios, who know how to create something memorable. Those moments that we grew up with, those moments that we are nostalgic for, that is why we spend our money on video games. As always guys, thank you so much for watching. I'd be really curious to know what you think about the gaming industry and where you think gaming is headed next. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, I'd greatly appreciate if you drop the video a like and subscribe to the channel so that I can get pushed in the algorithm. As always, drink some coffee, code, and I'll catch you in the next one.